Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you on this 13th day of April 2023. Happy birthday to our fellow columnist in the Philippine Star, Mr. Bu Chanko. Happy birthday. Manny de Maculangan. Happy birthday. And to all our Cignal TV subscribers, good morning and thank you very much for subscribing with Cignal. And syempre, thank you for our viewers on Facebook and on YouTube. It's a Thursday morning and the weather remains cloudy, overcast, and medyo showers here and there, but not a lot of rain in Metro Manila. But on the eastern seaboard, please take care of yourselves. We don't know what the situation is out there, but we pray that you will all be safe and medyo secure nyo na yung inyong mga Cignal satellite dish kung lumalakas ang hangin because of course we want you to stay in touch or at least continue watching the program. Okay, today we're going to have an interesting conversation with a resource person who we hope can help us figure out things. In case you have not realized or you do not get to go around the community, the provinces, etc., there are so many couples, okay, who hindi lang po magjowa. They're not just boyfriend, girlfriend. They are couples who have been living together with 2 to as many as 5 children, particularly in the provinces, and who do not have the benefit of marriage or have had a wedding. Okay, now sasabihin ng iba dyan, wala na yan, di na uso yan. But unbeknownst to many, when I speak to the women, when I speak to the couples, many of these Filipino couples who are living in actually want to get married, but the majority of them can't afford to get married because it's not that simple, okay? I'm just setting things up for later para maintindihan nyo bakit naggagawa ako ng series on living in, marriage, etc. We all, at least of my age, we are all familiar with the saying, hanggat hindi kayo kasal, hindi kayo nagpasakop sa Diyos until you have the blessing of matrimony or a wedding, the blessings of the Lord will not be upon you. Well, a lot of women want to be officially married for legal reasons as well as for their dignity and respect. You know, I mean, you're living in with a man, but you're not yet married. So it's an issue for a lot of women. A lot of women are robbed of their dignity in this sense simply because of poverty. So ginagawa kong column po I'm working on is how women are robbed of dignity and blessing and end up with children who are illegitimate, because from what I understand, at least that's what we used to know, children who are born cannot put the middle name. Kasi hindi naman married eh. So single pa rin, lalabas, illegitimate, etc. So I don't know if the family code has changed that, but it is sad, it is tragic, and we bring children into this world parang if not cursed, embarrassed. And we here in Agenda are making it our agenda to call national, local attention to this. Medyo bastusan na po yung ginagawa na hindi natin tinutulungan, yung hindi matulungan yung sarili. Anyway, let's not start the day fighting. Let's start the day with our daily starter. And this one comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, The future, oh, Gabriel, yung ating daily starter there. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Again, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Okay, sabi nga ng mga Pilipino, libre naman managinip. Okay, but bakit ka mananaginip lang? Why fantasize? Why daydream? Make it your goal. Make it so real, okay? Make it so true that you can feel it, taste it, you can write a story around it, you can carry it on from chapter to chapter and bring it to reality, okay? That's the beauty of dreams. You can work it to perfection. And when you bring it to reality, it may not end up being as perfect, but you know, when dreams come true, they come true, period. Many people can't even manage to dream anymore. Parang you've stopped dreaming because you're worried about finances, you're worried about the future, you're worried about your children or your career, or because you're single, wala ka pang jowa, and wala ka na ring dream. So that's not true, okay? That is so untrue. So follow what Eleanor Roosevelt said once again, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. Medyo marami pong balita. Medyo we will try to tackle it one by one. The headline of the Philippine Star today, April 13, 2023, ICC prober declares Duterte encouraged drug war crimes. The International Criminal Court investigators have declared that former President Rodrigo Duterte encouraged drug war crimes. Okay, former President Rodrigo Duterte and other top government officials appear, parang, okay, to have encouraged and condoned crimes related to the previous administration's so-called war against illegal drugs, according to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court or ICC. Okay, yan po. So, that is something that will be kumbaga, to be continued, a developing story, but medyo parang long shot yan. Okay, at the top of the front page, DOH allows second booster for general public because baka nakalimutan ninyo na the booster shots were primarily yung mga third and fourth, di ba, shot. Kasi una, Sinovac, di ba? And then that was Sinovac 1 and 2. And then there were booster 3 and 4, primarily for mga senior citizens, people with comorbidity, etc. But now the DOH allows it for the general public. Okay, pero malamang at malamang, bili ka. Okay, the top photo, okay, the firing squad photo, okay, at the top of the front page, we have Senior Defense Undersecretary Carlito Galvez. Could you show that on the screen, the foreign and U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin at a press conference in Washington where the allocating more than 100 million for infrastructure development at the new and existing enhanced defense cooperation agreement sites in the Philippines. Ayan. Okay, popondohan, lalagyan nila ng pera, 100 million for the development of those sites. So, sana cash talaga. Hindi in kind na yung gamit pa ng Amerikano ang dadating kasi lugi na naman yung mga Pilipino, walang trabaho. But hey, let us be thankful for whatever blessing and support comes at this stage. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin made the announcement at the joint press conference last April 11. And following the 2-on-2 ministerial meeting between the two countries in Washington. Meanwhile, okay, ito po, if you recall from yesterday's reading of the front page headline, I read that the police officials, the generals, colonels who were involved in the 990-kilo shabu bust and cover-up story said that the PNP chief, Rodolfo Azurin had knowledge of the operation and that Azurin had actually approved of the procedure. But now the headline, the front page says, Azurin to break silence on 6.7 billion shabu cover-up. Tight-lipped since Monday, General Rodolfo Azurin vowed he would break his silence soon on the alleged attempt by top PNP officials to cover up the arrest of Rodolfo Mayo Jr., one of the most wanted ex-policemen in the country. Okay, yesterday, Colonel Rodrigo Maranan, who heads the PNP Public Information Office, told reporters that Azurin would give a public statement in the coming days. Ang tagal naman po. Okay, but that I'm only reading the news. So, saka na ako magko-commentary pag may oras pa tayo. Okay, yan ha. A case tight enough to convince the government of Cambodia to have suspended Negros Oriental 3rd District Arnie Teves deported to the Philippines is being prepared by the DOJ. Okay, so yan po, no? Press release na naman. And the center photo of the front page, nurses appeal for a minimum monthly salary of 50,000 pesos during a protest in front of the Philippine General Hospital along Taft Avenue in Manila yesterday. Isipin mo nga naman, in order to graduate with a nursing degree nowadays, for a 4-year course, and I know this because my wife Karen and I actually studied it, you need to spend at least $500,000 in a state university, including the dormitory, transport, etc. expenses. Bakit nasusweldo ka ng barya? Sabi nga nung iba, mag-TESDA ka na lang. At least hindi ka lugi, hindi malaki yung kinapital sa pag-aaral mo. Ayan po. So, we will now come to that point where it's a choice. We pay for what we need or we lose what we need to the highest bidders abroad. Okay. Let's now go to telcos. Extend SIM registration. Ayan. Extend daw ng mobile communication leader Smart Communications and Globe Telecom are asking the government to extend the April 26 deadline for the subscriber identity module or SIM card registration, as none of them have reached half of their user bases yet. Smart yesterday sent a formal request to the Department of Information and Communication and the National Telecommunications Commission. Yan po. So, ang nangyayari, kalahati pa lang. The problem here is determining what is the real number because as you know, so many people have bought so many SIM cards. A lot of them have been discarded, thrown, lost, destroyed. So, nako po, hintayan ng matagal yan to determine ilan ba. Of course, unless of course the telcos have an active system of monitoring and being able to say, okay, we have X number of SIM cards, how many are operating or are in use for the last 30 days. Ayan po. So, SIM card registration extension requested by the telcos. Meanwhile, Philippine COVID deaths down by 86%. Bumagsak by 86%. In other words, pakonti na ng pakonti ang namamatay sa COVID, but heart disease is now the top killer. The number of fatalities due to COVID-19 dropped significantly last year, while heart disease remained the leading cause of death in the country. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported yesterday from January 16 to November 2022, the country logged, naku po, marami pa rin, 16,080 COVID deaths or 85.6% lower than the 100,599 fatalities recorded during the same period. Okay, pero mag-ingat po tayo, bumaba na ang mga COVID-related deaths, tumaas naman po ang heart disease-related deaths. So, okay, so please, okay, medyo kung kayo biglang, if you suddenly find yourself 2 days in a row short of breath while just walking in a flat surface, you are, experiencing chest pains, numbness of the extremities, please go see a doctor because I have saved myself, okay, 2, maybe even 3 times. Because when I felt that, I went to the heart center to see Dr. Marlo Mendoza. Okay, now, going further down, Marcos orders, okay, President Marcos orders the Department of Agriculture revive El Nino Task Force. President Marcos has ordered the Department of Agriculture to revive the interagency El Nino Task Force to address the possible impact of the drought on agriculture sector. Okay, maganda po yan kung meron pang nalalabing agriculture sector kasi mukhang kinakatay na ng importation. Okay, and then we have a photo of a man arranging plastic drums at a water container store along Commonwealth Avenue. The MWSS is seeking to increase its raw water allocation from Angat Dam amid the dry season. So please conserve water, limit your use of water, and prepare to go without water on certain hours during the summer season, which has not officially started, by the way, okay? I don't remember any announcement unless I missed it. Now, last but not the least, bit of unpleasant news for Malacanang. PBM rating dips, people unhappy with inflation. Less than a year in office, President Marcos' trust ratings fell slightly as a majority of Filipinos disapproved of the administration's performance in curbing inflation, according to a recent Pulse Asia survey. Some 80% of the respondents said They have big trust in Marcos, the concurrent agriculture secretary, with 5% having small or no trust and 15% undecided. Okay. Yan na po. So, bumagsak po ng, medyo the fact that bumagsak ang trust rating because of inflation, medyo is a cause for action. Maybe not concern, but action on the subject of inflation. Let's now go for a quick break. When we return, we go to our topic today concerning marriage, family affairs, etc. And like I said in the intro, because we are concerned by the growing number of Filipino couples who live in, have children, who have illegitimate children, what is the impact of this on children, etc., etc. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for staying with us. And for our interview portion of the program, we are featuring someone who understands the interactions in families and the impact of society on families, etc. And we do hope to start the conversation rolling, not just for today, but in future episodes, to address what is principally my agenda, my personal agenda, which is to get people to talk about so many Filipinos living in without the benefit of marriage. Now, you may not believe in in marriage, in weddings, etc., but there is both the legal, the moral, and the mental aspects to it that affects people. And that's why I'm pushing for people to take cognizance that we cannot have people unwed because they are poor or they don't have the funds. Something has to be done about it. Gab, please roll out our Betamax for the intro.
Aiza Caparas-Tabayoyong is a parenting and relationship consultant at the Love Institute. She is a certified breakthrough life coach and trainer and a member of the International Institute for Coaching and Mentoring.
Good morning, Aiza. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Cito. A very cloudy day for all of us.
Yeah, well, I think it gets to be cloudier for other people when we talk about this subject matter because as I already said in the start, umiikot ako sa Pilipinas. I get around and I go to the barangays. I talk to people who are outside of the community area, and I've discovered what I only used to read or hear. I've seen face to face. A lot of Filipinos who are living in, nagsasama, pero hindi. Interestingly, when you bring up the subject matter of we want to get married, but then when we started pursuing the process, I was shocked. It's expensive, relatively expensive for a person who may isang kahig, isang tuka, or who has a job maybe once a week or 2 to 3 days a week, and with 5 kids. What's your observation? What's your personal observation on this situation?
Well, personally, because we're very active in marriage preparation, a lot of people in the higher income classes, they can afford to think about marriage and consider actually getting into the institution of marriage. But as you said, those in the communities, lower income strata, it seems like it's a dream. Also because, well, some of them are already married once and then they separate and they don't do the annulment process. So they just leave the old spouse and then enter a new spouse and enter a new relationship and call that the new marriage without the legalities. And then the others, you'll be surprised, bakit di kayo kasal? If you ask them, ba't di kayo kasal? Ay, kasi po wala kaming papers. We don't have the papers. They don't have birth certificate. Mm-hmm. They're late. They need to late register. They were just born in the house with the midwife, so they were not properly registered. So there are a lot of varying factors. Some of them documentary, some of them finances, and some of them is education. Why pa? They will ask, what's the benefit for us if it's expensive to get married? So we'll just start staying together, become common law without being legally married. So they don't know the benefits. For some.
Yeah, and that's tragic, and I guess it gets personal because in my case, when I wanted to get married many years ago, I needed a birth certificate. And when we tried to get a copy of my birth certificate, the hospital I was born in Manila was no longer existing. And so we had to backtrack, go to Manila City Hall, and Comare to go to City Hall to testify that they witnessed my birth and that I was indeed born in Manila. And then they would give a that there was a testimony filed. But when you go to the Statistics Authority back then, sinabihan ako, Cito, honestly, hindi to birth certificate. It doesn't qualify. We will just have to find a remedy until something, a miracle of sorts happened. We actually found a copy lying in some safe of my father after he died. Kumbaga, kinamatayan na ng tatay ko. Now, that, took months, if not a year.
Yes.
And I found out that for people who want to get married, you're right. They need birth certificate. They need a certificate of they need a certificate or to contract marriage.
NOMAR, like a certificate that they have never been married in the first place. Yeah.
Mhm. And then what else?
That's for the legal only, and it's a different story if you want to get married in your church. So they also need the marriage license from the city hall or the municipality where they plan to get the married legally. So at least that three, and then have the witness and a registered minister or judge who is qualified and certified to marry you. So with all that, not everybody ikaw na nga di ba? Not everybody would have the patience, the commitment, the resources to pursue all that. Sasabihin lang nila, ang hirap-hirap po, so wag na lang, no?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't understand the repercussions of not being legally married or the benefits of getting legally married.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact you were saying private just for the government requirements and then the church requirements. We're talking 5 to 10,000 pesos because meron pang seminar, di ba? Meron pang birth tawag nun? Birth control seminar ba yun? Or ba family planning seminar?
The family planning seminar is required in the city hall, in the legal. The church one requires like a pre-K na or a marriage preparation seminar. Usually you can do it in the parishes or other providers like in CEFAM or Discovery Weekend. And then they have the canonical interview with the priest, and then you'll be required your confirmation certificate, so baptismal certificate and confirmation certificate. It gets more complicated if the spouses are not in the same religion. So one would have to be enculturated and baptized in the religion of the spouse if they choose to be married in that particular denomination.
Okay, now so we're talking 5 to 10,000 pesos, an average of what, 3 months waiting, making lakad all of these documents?
Yes, if documents are in order. Again, if you're not registered, if you don't have a birth certificate yet, then that's a late registration. You'll have to go to your municipality, find someone, and be registered late in the Civil Statistics Office, right? In the Philippine Statistics Office. So 3 to 6 months, that's minimum. But I know people, families, couples who have been waiting for years to get at least their birth certificate. You know, because that's the hardest one if they don't have. And there are those who are also annulled or not separated from their previous relationship who are not yet annulled, so they cannot get a CENOMAR. A CENOMAR is a certificate of no marriage, because every time they request a CENOMAR, which is a requirement for a marriage license, they will they will show that they're already married legally. So annulment takes years. So, but sometimes one mistake of getting married too young will affect them in getting married with the right person for a long time. So it gets complicated. 3 to 6 months, it's minimum.
3 to 6 months, many thousand pesos involved, a lot of frustration, but you know, people will say, wag na lang, wag na. And what do you, in your experience, okay? Because I don't want to preach. I can preach here until the cows come home about the benefits of marriage and how important it is, both spiritually, morally, and materially. But you as an expert, you are a relationship expert, parenting and relationship consultant. What are the benefits, or why is this something so important to a woman, a Filipina, okay, regardless of religious disposition or pronouncement, but why is this important? How does it affect them not being married?
I totally agree with what you said earlier. There are a lot of effects. There are moral, there are psychological, psycho-emotional effects, and there are legal effects. So moral aside, if we won't be talking about the the belief system of the person, although that alone brings you a lot of peace, right? Legally, it secures you of your right. Whether you're the wife or the husband, you have rights in the marriage. And that will bring a lot of sense of security in your relationship. Even married people alone have a lot of sources of insecurity. Oh, he might leave me, she might replace me for another person. What more if you're living in an unsecure relationship, such as not having marriage? Okay, and also your rights in terms of conjugality of possessions, right? Resources. You have equal share on everything, so that also provides equal share on roles. Okay, and what is my decision making role in our money, in our children, and all that. Being legally married secures that as well. And of course, knock on wood, when one spouse passes, it also secures that you are the beneficiary of whatever you have raised together in terms of resources. That's for the spouse. When we talk about the rights of the children within who are legitimate within a marriage, within a legal marriage, right? It also is different. If you're not married, then the children are illegitimate. So that gives a whole different insecurity to the children. Buti nga ngayon, less na yung stigma, right?
Yeah.
But or in earlier years, if you're not married, there's a big stigma for the children. Ay,
Anak ka sa labas.
Oh, right. But nowadays, thankfully, that's not as strong, as loud anymore. So
Yeah, but Aiza, pasensya ka na. No, I mean, please bear with me because I'm filtering so much information. But I've been told that children who are from a relationship without marriage cannot be registered as with the middle name. And I met a few kids. Actually, they're adults already. Sabi ko, bakit ang family name mo Mendoza o kaya Gonzales? Kasi sir, hindi po kasal magulang ko. Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, that part I cannot explain the rationale behind. I think you should talk to the.
But it does. It happens. It's actually a fact.
Yes, especially if the father didn't acknowledge in the birth certificate that the child can use his last name. But if the father did and they signed in the birth certificate or have some sort of written document or affidavit, then the child can use his last name and then middle name of the wife. But if the father didn't do that, didn't bother to do that, not out of lack of willingness, but sometimes they didn't know they have to, or especially if there's the father is married to someone else, still legally married to someone else, then the child would have one name. I don't like if you're Beltran, I didn't even hear that you can use the same name as a middle name. What I know is you will leave it blank. Like it will just be
So
Cito,
no middle name.
no middle name at all.
Which makes it even more obvious. But wala kang middle name kasi wala kang nanay, 'di ba? Parang weird, okay? Because now there is now a law that allows women to use their maiden name and not necessarily the name of their husband. But in
Yes,
the case of children, there is no process where it is an automatic registration of who the biological parents are.
The choice for the wife, that's their choice. But for the children, ideally, number one, if it's married, they have no choice. They have to carry the father's name. If they're not married, then the remedy there is the father will sign on the birth certificate, even if they're not married, and acknowledge that this is my child. This is my biological.
But that's weird because the father makes a choice, gets to choose whether he will acknowledge the child or not, but the mother in a live-in situation does not get to automatically put her family name?
Uh, put her family. No, you can't put as a middle name once the father. That's my understanding.
Acknowledges.
Once the father acknowledges, then the mother's last name can be the middle name.
Abe, pag hindi ka ba naman nakasapok ng congressman na gumagawa ng ganyang batas, ewan ko lang. I'm sorry, but it just
Yeah.
riles me up. It's so unfair.
Yes, it's really the children who has the biggest effect of this lack of protection, legal protection.
Tell us about that, please.
Yes, because we have a lot of, as it is now, children from families who are legally married have a lot of issues, have a lot of source anxiety, much more in a family that doesn't have security. And you would see your parents fight. Conflict in marriage is natural, but conflict in a marriage that is secured and has a commitment in the law makes you worry less, makes you be anxious less. But fights you witness and your parents are not married can easily, this system of my family that I know can easily break apart anytime one of my parents decide to do so, can bring a lot of insecurity and anxiety to the children. And we see that. Not to mention, that is the role modeling of the kids. Oh, my parents are not married, so I will not make a goal for myself to be in a married relationship. Pwede pala eh. That's normal for me. I grew up with having that as a norm. So why would I even ambition and why would I even strive to have a married relationship someday when I find a partner? Pwede naman pala easy in, easy out. Live in, then we can easily say we don't like anymore and no more legalities, which again has repercussions on their rights, on their sense of security and authenticness of their love. Because marriage shows commitment. If you go through that process, all the paperwork, all the preparation, that is demonstration of your commitment to your partner, to the love that you're supposed to be shared.
Okay.
So
Yeah, what happens to these children? I mean, I'll go to the wife or the women later, but I'm just really concerned about the children. You've dealt with some of them, I'm sure. What's the profile like? What is the behavior like? What are their chances of success in life? Because I have friends who, because they were the second family, my friends here and there worked harder. Parang they grew up with the chip on their shoulder and they fought the system, they worked hard at proving themselves, etc. But by and large, what is the behavior and profile of children in families that do not have
in a relationship that doesn't have the security of marriage, there will always be an effect on their self-worth. And I'm not generalizing this for everyone. If they realize, oh, something's not right and I should do something about it. But it takes self-awareness, it takes realization. But a lot of children who don't go through that go through a lot of turmoil, questioning their self-esteem and self-worth, which has a lot of sidetrack from addiction to depression to anxiety disorder to dysfunction at work and dysfunction in relationships. So there's a whole gamut relationship or in a marriage which has the safety of legal protection already have those issues. Much more if there are questions in commitment in their parents. So mas nagiging prevalent yan. So and it's not a one cut that all children born in this kind of marriage, this automatically happens. the more common theme is questioning their self-worth. Am I not valuable enough that my parents can decide to get married and make this family more solid, more secured? Or are we the children just byproducts of, unprotected making love?
Okay, we're going to go for a quick break, Aiza, but when we return, I want to carry on with that. Sila nag-live-in, yung magulang nagkaroon ng anak before marriage, etc. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we are joined by Aiza Caparas-Tabayoyong, parenting and relationship consultant. She has guested before, and we are having a very enlightening discussion here. Because many people think that marriage, no marriage, same. No, it's not. Yeah, whether legal, spiritual, moral, mental basis, a woman and her children need the stability and the assurance that that ceremony, that status affords them. Now, Aiza, you were talking about, what children see, children copy. And what children experience, they imbibe. Sinasabi mo, ganito lang ba ang value ko na I'm children? What about us professionals? Do you see that? Because nakita ko, parang they would work so hard, and then completely fail. Work so hard,
Right?
Yeah, Aiza.
Sorry, okay. Right, because you froze for my end. Yeah, it's, well, what you grew up with, that becomes normalized. And if you see that, oh, my parents didn't have enough commitment to work on being married, being documented. My mom didn't see herself as worthy enough, as valuable enough to assert getting the legal protection of marriage. So it's a pattern of what's seen from the older generation that is unconsciously, subconsciously, or even explicitly. So minsan napapanood, minsan nakikita, minsan nasasabi, okay lang yan anak, huwag ka na magpakasal. Yung talagang itinuturo na as normal, right? So any of those that the child unconsciously or consciously copies and brings to her adulthood or his adult life. Ganun din, hindi lang sa mga anak na babae, pati din sa mga anak na lalaki. Bakit kita pakakasalan? Yung tatay ko nga, hindi pinakasalan yung nanay ko eh. Why would I offer this hard institution, enter that for you? But then again, if they understand its benefits, not legal benefits, psycho-emotional benefits, and again, moral benefits, then they will make it work. They will realize it's all worth it.
Okay, so socially, politically, as a country, okay, kasi I'd like to think, and I would claim that when Filipinos enter into marriage, couples enter into marriage, there is stability in the society. And there is some amount of progress that it brings because you have stable people. I mean, what would you tell politicians regarding this subject matter?
Well, this goes us in the family ministry, that we are in this work. We are very passionate in protecting the family. Because anything that happens in the family, all the turmoil, all the insecurities, all the questioning of self-worth, we see that and it radiates to society. It becomes a problem in the general population. That's where you have corruption. That's where you have disloyalty. That's where you have lack of commitment and giving up easily, because it starts from the family. So I would tell all the politicians who are in charge of making laws and policies, we have to focus on strengthening the families. And it starts with, preparing for marriage, educating the value of marriage, and then letting people have easy access if they're really discerned well. That's a whole different topic though, discerning if you're meant for marriage, right? But I would tell the politicians, let's look into this, because once we solve the family problems, we are solving half of the country's problems, because you're planting the right seeds within the basic unit of the society. We always say that family is the basic unit of society, but we're not really investing in it. And so if the family breaks down, that trickles to the society. And that's why what we see, the problems outside now, it's not surprising, because we have forgotten to strengthen the family.
Yeah, and I couldn't have said it any better than you have. And you're right. We are not even touching on relationships, on how people should go about, kasi parang jowa-jowa na lang, ganon. And other people tell me, ay sir, kanya ayoko mag-jowa, mag-abroad na lang ako at kikita na lang akong pera. Parang they see no value in emotional, relational commitments. And I suppose that's why we have phenomena like ghosting. People think it's funny. People, natawa ka, di ba? You younger people think, he got ghosted or she got ghosted, right? But it's a reflection of what's happening in society because families are no longer as strong about commitment as we used to be.
Yes, because if it's easily achieved, if it's easily, there's value in the olden days that you work hard in entering a relationship. You work hard to getting the heart and the yes of someone. I'm not saying we go back to that patriarchal way, but there is value in taking time to get to know yourself, to get to know your partner. Don't rush into, I'm in love, so let's live in already, or let's have intercourse already, and then we don't know the repercussions intellectually and mentally and any unplanned children that may come out of that. Again, that's a whole different conversation. But there's value in, let's take it slow. Let's start with friendship. Let's start with discerning. Am I called for being married? Am I called for fatherhood, for motherhood? Is this what I'm meant to be? Or there is also value in being singly blessed, right? Single blessedness.
Okay. Which again will be another topic for discussion. So we're gonna have to break it here, Aiza, because we've run out of time. But I'm sure there will be part 2, part 3, and part 4 to all of this as we continue to address this issue. My agenda right now is marriage. For the poor primarily because they can't afford it, but we will carry on and we hope you will answer our calls in the future.
And I love this agenda. More power to your show, and I hope there's more people who will listen and follow this series that Cito is trying to start and hopefully educate more. And you can also reach us in the Love Institute for any more information about relationships and parenting.
Okay, Love Institute that is. Thank you very much. Aiza Caparas-Tabayoyong, parenting relationship consultant and at the Love Institute. Thank you very much, Aiza.
Thank you.
Okay, let's now go to our closing blessing for the week. Psalm 34 verses 18 to 19. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you like the topics we are talking about, or if there are topics or agendas you want us to tackle, please let us know because we would love